to add in. But for those of you who don't know me, my name is John Cox, and we're going to be talking about the feel great system.
This page isn't
We may
running.
want let's Lisa, if you want to mute Lisa, we can hear you. So yeah, we're going to be talking about the feel great system. Now, this system has been around for over 30 years. It's been used worldwide in 65 plus countries. It's backed by science. Some of the best credibility as far as medical folks have studied this. We have third party studies. It's not. It's recognized by even small institutions like the Cleveland Clinic. I mean, they're the best. Lisa's coming back in with heart disease, and some of the things you look at blood sugar, and you look at healthy weight, and it helps with gut health, and so many things. But really, what we're going to talk to is insulin resistance. Now we lost Terry. It may be an internet thing with Terry. I don't know. But for me, when I first got contacted about the Feel Great system, I was pretty negative. I wouldn't even talk to my friend for upwards of 4 months. Eventually, she called back and talked to my wife, not me. I wouldn't listen. And Carrie said, John, I'd like you to look at this because I don't want you to be an early widow like your mom. And that picture on the left is shows me severely insulin resistant, diabetic, terrible neuropathy, terrible blood work, walking, talking, heart attack, stroke level blood pressure. And in 8 months, you can see my results on the left, and then very healthy on the right and off medications. So, so we're going to talk about the Feel Great system, and one of the biggest causes of so many issues today. A lot of issues we didn't even have 50, 60 years ago. We definitely are getting them much younger. 25, 30-year-olds are getting things that in the previous 50 years, 80-year-olds or 70-year-olds. And so I've got my great friend Scott Harker on here, and he is a certified gut health specialist. And I'm going to have him with a lot of these slides tonight. But so Scott, insulin resistance is kind of that leaky pipe behind the wall that's leaking, and it's dripping, and it's causing lots of damage over and over and over. The problem is it's in the wall and you don't see it. Well, insulin resistance is kind of that backstage that people weren't talking about it, still aren't talking about it a lot, and it's causing great harm. So would you walk us through this slide? How do we get here, and just walk us through a lot of these symptoms?
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, John. Thanks for having me on here tonight. Yeah. So like John was saying, insulin resistance is the root cause of many of these things. And so it's really important just quickly to understand what insulin resistance is and the importance. So insulin, a lot of us, when we think about insulin, we kind of think of it as a dirty word, right? But insulin is so important. It's a hormone that's really, really important to us in helping us regulate our blood sugar. And insulin resistance is something that happens when our cells no longer start recognizing that hormone insulin that's produced by our pancreas. And so what happens is how we get here is that our cells become deaf to the insulin itself. And insulin basically attaches itself to the cell. And John, I don't know if you've got a slide on that later, but I'll just explain it so people understand what we're really talking about. But it basically opens that door in the cell to allow us to get our sugar out of our blood right after we eat something. So everything that we eat gets turned into glucose and gets into our blood system. And so what happens, you can see right here on this slide tonight, there's a lot of different symptoms that we have. And yeah, that's great, John. So I'll go ahead with this slide then. So what happens to us is we get on this roller coaster every day, and there's a lot of things that happen along here. So what's caused our issue is that our body never gets a chance to rest. In the morning, right? We've all been taught to get up and eat breakfast because that's the best meal of the day, or our most important meal of the day, right? Which really what happens is we have breakfast, and a lot of times we do something, our coffee with sugar or something, and we get on this roller coaster, this blood sugar spike that happens. You see John's got this picture up here of insulin and glucose, and when our glucose goes up, our insulin goes up, and then mid afternoon our sugar goes down. We kind of have a little bit of a crash. We're kind of like getting down, so we reach for some more food or some caffeine or coffee. Sugar goes up, insulin never gets a chance to come down because it comes down at a much slower rate than that sugar does. And then have a minute later on, we have another snack, and then we eat lunch, and then we have another snack, right? And we've been taught all along of our life to eat 6 to 8 small meals a day. But what you're seeing is that purple line along there is that insulin stays high. And when insulin stays high, it's like that person knocking at the door all the time, and they're knock, 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 and eventually we just tune it out. And that's what happens. We eat too often, and a lot of times too much, and then the insulin becomes ineffective. So just our eating pattern alone, not only what we eat and the type of things, I'm sure, John, you'll get into it later, but not only what we eat, but it's how often and the timing at which we eat. And so when your insulin never comes down, you never get a chance to get into a fat burn mode, right? And so we've got to give our bodies a time to rest. And we'll talk about that, I'm sure, a little bit later. The other two things that are so important on here to me that I just kind of, as my training as a certified gut health specialist, is this thing on the side where it's talking about stripping of fiber. In our modern diet today, we've taken the fiber out of everything, right? Today we give our kids apple juice. We drink juices instead of actually eat the apple that has the fiber, or the grapes, or whatever it is. We're drinking the juice instead of getting that fiber. And that fiber is so important to our gut health. And it also, as we'll talk a little bit later about how important fiber is to help slow the glucose ramp up, so our insulin doesn't have to come up as high, and it actually causes it to basically take those spikes out of there and make it slow, and how it really impacts feeding of our gut and how important our gut is of this. And you can see it as well in like rice. We used to eat wild rice, and now people eat basically the rice is all stripped of fiber. So that's a little bit into the context of that, and how this starts to cause a lot of the other things that you had on there as inflammation, right? And that inflammation starts to tear down the gut and all kinds of things. We don't get into fat burn. We start getting into fatty liver disease, builds up the fat in our heart. Our triglycerides go high. And so we could spend an hour on each one of these, John, but really what it comes down to is when that insulin stays high and never gives our body a chance to get into fat burn mode, we can't burn fat, and also we start having poor gut health, which leads to many of these different types of things on this in terms of inflammation, leaky gut, that leads to a lot of these things.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's
now
a little bit of
yeah yeah that's great. One thing I wanted to do a little bit more of a deep dive on is mental health. So I had no idea. I mean, I've never dealt with anxiety, depression. However, I'm sure I had. We got Liz getting ready to join here.
Yeah.
Hey, Liz, how you doing?
Can you see me somewhere?
I can. Yeah,
All
I
right.
can.
Great.
All right. Well,
Great.
we're just getting ready. We're covering the first slide here, and then
Perfect. Perfect.
and then we're going to ask you. We'll get you involved in this. So,
Yeah.
but Scott, mental health, how is it tied to the gut? I mean, so many people are on antidepressants and mental health issues, and the amount of children is crazy. How many of them are dealing with depression and anxiety at a young age? And I just don't remember seeing that when I was in school.
Yeah. So there's two aspects I want to break down on mental health. There's one where we get into actual some biology and physiology that's going in the gut, and I'll address that second. But the first one is just when our gut is unhealthy, right, in general, and we're into insulin resistance and whatnot, and we don't feel full because we're eating the wrong types of things. right? We get into a point where we become hungry, and we have this cycle of this causes stress and our cortisol level to go up, and basically triggers an insulin response. That's one. But the second one that's a really big thing that people don't think about so much is that about 70 to 80%, depending on how you look at it, of our serotonin and our dopamine is made it is really made through a gut process that happens. And I won't go into that deeply, but I call those our happy hormones. And when our gut is unhealthy and we're not getting that fiber that I was talking about earlier in that first slide, and our gut requires that fiber, when it doesn't get that, our dopamine and our serotonin don't get produced correctly. And therefore, the signaling to the brain and between the gut, it doesn't happen correctly. So we get the wrong signaling. It can lead to depression. It can lead to brain fog. It leads to anxiety because there's this thing called the gut-brain axis, and there's this communication in this loop that goes between the gut and the brain, constant feedback loop that happens. And so when that gets out of balance, basically we can develop anxiety, brain fog, actually go into depression. And I know, John, you got this up, that leads to migraines, and that's caused by some other things in relationship to that. It can be toxicity in our bodies, but really we can get into a depressive state because our hormones get out of balance at that point in time. And so that's really important to keep that gut in balance so that we don't have that. So when we start to bring that gut health back and get us out of dysbiosis, meaning we have more good bacteria than bad bacteria, our body will start to produce the hormones and start to self-regulate. And so that's why we see brain fog, anxiety, depression, and things related to that, all tied to the gut when it starts to get healthy. I mean, think about it this way. You know, a lot of times if you've ever gotten nervous or whatever, we say we feel it in the gut. It's because you really do. You're getting signaling from the gut to the brain through the gut-brain axis.
Wow, it's crazy. Now, we have a doctor's panel or medical panel tomorrow night at 8. And I know a lot of you are going to dive into in the deep end on some of this stuff. And so it's going to be fantastic. But, well, Scott, we're going to pull you back in and to cover some of the other stuff. But
Sure.
I have a great friend, all of us do, Terry Swartout. And I hadn't seen Terry in probably about 20 years. And then Carrie and I went and had lunch with her. And then I didn't have any idea that she was going through a lot of the stuff that she did, and her dad as well, and family. But so Terry, what's this done for you, quickly in a short amount of time, but you're helping a lot of people get healthy as well.
Okay, I'm at the fair and they're doing truck pulls, so I'm hoping I can get this in real fast and the volume's okay.
You're
So,
good.
um, yeah, I'd fought psoriasis for like 6 years, and I went to the doctor. They put me on steroids, creams, all kinds of stuff, and it didn't go away. In 1 month of taking this, my hand cleared up. I've lost about 30 pounds, and I lost a lot of inflammation to begin with, but because a lot of it was inflammation all over you. So my dad had diabetes, and he had pancreatic cancer and passed away. And I wish we would have had this when he was alive. But anyway, um, yeah, my mood's good. I'm going through a nasty divorce, and I'm sorry to say that, but it's a pretty big trial I got to go to next Tuesday. Been it going on for 2 years, and it's kept my depression, my anxiety, and a lot of my issues at bay because it's tried me pretty good. So I have to give a testimony of this product for helping me get through the mental state of that condition.
Yeah.
If it wasn't for this, I would have probably had a breakdown. There's no doubt about it. I would have had a breakdown. So that is a testimony.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
so yeah, it's helped me a lot. My mom's fingers she can squeeze her hand now where she couldn't before because of her arthritis. She had bad arthritis, and now this stuff has made her so that's gone away. Um, but yeah, it's been a lifesaver for me.
Yeah. Well, that's awesome. Well, I mean, see Terry's pictures there, and amazing. And my daughter had psoriasis through her scalp, all over, very painful. and terrible IBS. And I think when she healed the gut, most all that went away. So that's fantastic. I know, Terry, you might have to run here in a little bit, but that's why I wanted to get her testimony on here. It's so important. So Scott covered, how we get in to insulin resistance. The time used to be that was the foundation of people's diets 100 years ago. You ate meat when you were a good fisherman and you could go hunt and catch food, and then really vegetables and fruit, that was a survival food. They were small, they were woody, just packed with fiber, really didn't have a lot of taste. And we've modified from Wentz line to great big honey crisp that tastes so and Gala apples and all that. But then in 1980, they said, you know what, we're going to change this up because the American Diet Foundation highly refined carbohydrates, something that we never had, even 80, 70, 80 years ago, very, very little bit. And even the cereals that we had back 80 years ago, they did have more fiber today. But when they changed that pyramid and said, okay, some carbohydrates. Now, folks, this happened around about of the population had diabetes. Now, why has it clicked? When we started changing the food, we started pulling fiber out. We started eating all these small meals every day because we were told that's going to fire up our metabolism. And what it did, that graph that Scott showed, it's going to get your sugar spike, insulin never comes down. And we've been getting sick as a country after we've been eating it. The top graph is obesity. Look what that's done. And what's crazy is children are the fastest growing with obesity climbing. But it just a school lunch program and why. Craziness. My grandson is going to preschool this year. And my daughter's something from a doctor saying eat school lunch, and if not, he has to eat the school lunch. And we're like, no way. And she was telling me about this today. I was like, well, I got to talk to my buddy Scott Harker because I bet he could just write something small, and we could get our grandson to where he can eat whatever we want him to eat. It's crazy that they're forcing that on you, but look what it's coming. Look what's happening. And we could lay Alzheimer's, heart disease, PCOS in women, erectile dysfunction in men. It all shifted when the food changed. So we have Lisa Andrews on here. And Lisa, your story, your testimony is absolutely nothing short of amazing. So I
yes.
Facebook, the flashback. I'm like, that's not Lisa. And I zoomed in. I'm like, I can tell it's her eyes. That's Lisa. And then now the lady on the right, it looks like the daughter of the lady on the left in this picture. So walk us through where you were at. What's it done? The world needs to hear.
Yes. So about 5 years ago, I was diagnosed with type 2 diabetes, high cholesterol, acid reflux disease, high blood pressure, and the doctor got me on some medicines and just kept getting me on different medicines for my diabetes. And so he discontinued, or one of the medicines discontinued, and I was off of it for like 3 weeks, and I was going crazy, going crazy off my medicines. And I like, wait a second, Lisa, you just have to watch your sugar. So I just got sick of it. I got sick of being on my meds. I got sick of staying the same. I always thought there's got to be something better than this. So I actually cried and cried out to God. I prayed to God about getting me off my medicine, and he brought me this. He brought me my friend Lorraine with this protocol. She told me to come to a demonstration, and I did. So John Cox was hosting, and listened to his testimony, and it was awesome. And then what got me is the 90-day back guarantee. So I said, sign me up. And I was so determined to do this that I got rid of my oatmeal, because you're supposed to fast 14 to 19 hours. So I got rid of my oatmeal. And I actually lost 50 pounds in 3 months. I was off all my medicines. My A1C was a 6.9. Now it's a 5.4. Yeah. So, and then I've been on this protocol for about a year and 4 months now, and I lost 68 pounds total.
Lisa, that's incredible. And I can
Yeah,
just
my doctor
tell,
was amazed.
Yeah, I can tell every time I'm around you, just the smile that you feel good. You feel good about, not only you feel good inside, physically you feel good. You can tell that mentally you feel good about Lisa. And it's very evident when I have.
Yes.
Okay, we got incredible products here, and
John, my internet's unstable. I can't hear you.
how about now?
There, yeah, one of us went unstable. I heard you say my name. I wasn't certain what where you were going there. So
Yeah, I don't know if it's me, my internet, but Lisa was
I don't
froze
know.
up too, and so so
Mhm.
I know when Alan first. Can you hear me? All right.
Yeah, it's going in and out. But that's okay. Let's go through it. Let's try.
All right. Someone said we're cutting in and out. Um,
Yeah.
So this protocol, fiber and fasting, why? I mean, these products, and but when you pair them together, why is that? Why is this fiber so incredible and necessary to get our insulin resistance reversed and all the major symptoms that come around with it?
Right. Yeah. So I think I heard you there, John, and hopefully you can hear me. So the fiber, this balance pack, and I got a picture of it here, a little bit different flavor, my favorite flavor, the berry flavor. But this is called balance, and it's a really unique fiber matrix that I've really never seen out there before. Because one of the things before I started using this product myself, I was looking for a really, really good fiber. And when it's introduced to me, to really start to study and dig into the patents of its insoluble and soluble fibers. And there's a couple things that I want to bring out on here that'll kind of sum up this chart a little bit. There's a viscous part to this, meaning that when it hits the soluble part, when it gets into water, it starts to thicken up. Okay. And I'm sure John will talk about how we take this right before our food and things like that later. But that's really, really important, because when we think about the digestive tract and how things start to move through, the viscous part does something pretty interesting. It slows things up. It allows us to, as you can see on the glucose chart, the University of Sydney does it. It helps basically keep our glucose spike happening when we eat. So when and I can't read the chart, but basically it's comparing a couple scenarios where we eat something without fiber in the balance, and then when we eat it, and there's clinical studies showing that you get the 35 to 40% reduction 30 minutes after you eat when you use this fiber of the glucose spike. So when we talked earlier, what that means is that our insulin's not going to go as high. We're not going to get into this roller coaster and start to level things out. That's one thing. So it helps basically keep that sugar level lower and balance it out over time. In turn, it helps us start to feel fuller. So when we use, and we'll talk about the unamate a little bit later, the next drink, but in combination with the fiber, what we see is there's some studies out there that show that when you do this, you eat about 11 to 20% less calories when you take this and using it because of the way our body reacts to it. And then the other thing that it kind of relates to is this viscous part of it is it forms this gel-like substance through our body and helps, I'm going to call it heal and seal the gut. But it starts to impact all the way from our small intestines to our large intestines. And what it does is it also helps basically the absorption of bad cholesterol and things like that. And I won't get into the details of how it really works, but if you can see, there's a study there by the Cleveland Clinic, right? And it says such a product if taken regularly could reduce cardiovascular risk on a population basis and potentially decrease the need for lower lipid drugs, right? And that came from, I basically would say, the #1 heart hospital in the world, right? To actually, they've studied this product and do it. But then there's this third component in its fiber called fermentable fiber, right? Or it's a fermentable fiber, and it means that it feeds the gut. You know, John, I've heard you call it a salad in a bag, right? And what this does, it feeds the good bacteria so that the body can start to produce the right type of short chain fatty acids that it needs to help us heal the gut, helps even with the skin issues that Terry talked about earlier, helps us with insulin resistance. So we get this benefit of what this product does. And then things like the colitis, that's why I got in there. And then we talked about anxiety and depression. But this, you know, Terry earlier talking about psoriasis really can help with skin issues, because we know that skin issues and things like eczema and different things come from unhealthy gut, right? And so that's what this product really helps you start to do. Not only helps you feel full, but then also starts to heal you from the inside out. Is it heal these things directly? No, it heals the gut so that the body can start to heal itself, because it starts to fix the gut. When it gets in balance, then other things start to come in balance.
Yeah. So they've been stripping, you know, a lot of the big tobacco companies 60, 70 years ago, you know, you no longer could advertise tobacco products. And a lot of those companies, they bought food companies because they weren't allowed to advertise tobacco products. However, they found a drug 9 times more addictive than cocaine and heroin, and that is sugar.
Yeah.
So walk us through, I mean, we are getting sicker as a country with the best technology in the world, you know, medically. I mean, if I break a bone, I'm going to an ER trauma center. If I have major surgery, they're the best in the world. Standard healthcare, it's almost like, and I'm not dogging doctors, but it's almost like a sick care system anymore. There's really not walk us through, why are we always so hungry and snacking? And when the fiber is stripped, how does that happen?
Yeah.
I can't imagine it would be intentional.
Well, yeah, we can address that on another day. You eat, the more you buy, right? The sicker you are, the more drugs you're going to buy. So I'll just leave it at that. But what's really happening there is you brought up a couple points about why do we crave foods? And I think that's what you're really getting at. Why do we want to eat all the time? And so one of the things, if you're on here tonight, you know, I remember when I was dealing with weight gain and trouble, you know, I had a person tell me, say, Scott, you just need more willpower. So let me just get to it. This is not a character flaw. If you're dealing with issues around that tonight, don't beat yourself up, because there's this physiological, biological process that happens within inside the body. And so I'm going to break it down like this, just really simple. I used the word dysbiosis earlier. And really what that is that's when our gut becomes in balance. We have good bacteria and bad bacteria in our gut. Okay. And when we get more bad bacteria in our gut, that causes all these problems. Now, the question is, how do we get that more bad, that's not good English, but why does the bad bacteria flourish? Well, it's the very thing that John mentioned just a second ago, sugar. Bad bacteria loves sugar. The high carbohydrates, the foods that we eat, the juices, the different things that we eat basically turn into the sugar, and our bodies love sugar. And so what it does is it messes up the signaling to our brain. And when we don't get the sugar constantly, the carbohydrate high, our bodies signal through our gut bacteria to our brain and said, I'm starving. And your brain really thinks that you need to eat that sugar. And so that's why we have these sugar craves, or not necessarily a piece of cake. Some of us crave corn chips. That's what was me, or some other carbohydrate. So our body is telling us that we need these. And so sugar is one of the things that, along with eating constantly, causes this our body to think that it needs it, and that's what causes our cravings. That's one of the biggest reasons that we have those cravings. Not only the ups and down of our blood sugar, which is caused by sugar, they're related, but we actually get this dysbiosis inside of our gut, and it craves those things. So I just share one thing, John. I actually had a person that we was using this balance, and he ate donuts every week. And we've got him now, what I would say, moving out of dysbiosis. And he goes, I went to eat a donut the other day, and he goes, Scott, I couldn't do it. He goes, my body just said, no, I don't want it. It made him sick. He took a bite, and he's just like, I don't want it. Now, and I'm not saying you should never enjoy a donut. But what I'm saying is our gut controls so much about what we crave and what we want. And he goes, I'm so relieved. He goes, I just don't crave those donuts anymore. Okay?
Yeah. Unbelievable. Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, if I have something like that, it's not that I crave it. It's just my brain remembering how much I used to enjoy some of that kind of craziness. But so there's a comment, and I'm not seeing it on Facebook, but I can see it on here, and one of it's grayed out. So I'm still learning Restream. But Michelle asked, so what about consuming natural fiber from broccoli, beans, asparagus, peas? And then she talks about being sprayed on foods. And Michelle, what I would say is all non-starchy vegetables like cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, green beans, asparagus, spinach, all those kinds of things, very healthy. It's when we get into the starchy type vegetables like potatoes, rice, and corn. I'm not saying I don't eat those, but I will eat them at the end of my meal because they're full of starch and they will tend to spike blood sugar. And I do love all those things like you mentioned. I don't know why the comment's blocked out. But a lot of times for me, it's convenience. I mean, I live a fast-paced life. I am on the go nonstop. And if I love a lush, diverse garden salad with seeds and nuts. But I'll be honest, a lot of times I'm so busy, I don't have time. And even to make those kind of salads, if you to eat like that, it's very expensive. So for me, it's kind of like my salad in a pack, like Scott mentioned. And even like for my grandkids, some of them, we cannot get them to eat vegetables. They love balance. So I can trick them and say, hey, you can't go outside and ride your bike. You may not want your broccoli, but you can't go ride the bike, but I will let you have balance. And they want to chuck my whole balance down. So we're getting it in them. And then I agree with the whole foods. Heck yeah, you're saying 85, 90%. Very, very good. And I 100% agree with that. So we've got Liz Van Camp on here. And thank you, Liz, for patiently waiting.
Oh, that's all right.
Yeah, it's so good to have you on here. So I know you and Lisa Andrews are good friends, met through church. But so why, when Lisa came to you with this, why did you even want to get started with it? I know you're in the insurance industry. How have you seen people's health change over the last 10, 20 years in the industry. I'm sure it has. And then why did you decide to do it, and how's it going for you so far?
Well, here's the situation. I became an insurance agent in 1996, and so my degrees are life and health and property and casualty. So that's life insurance. You know, they always ask for the weight, they ask for the height, they ask for diabetes, they ask for yes or no, what meds are you taking? And man, I'll tell you, life insurance rates get really high when the person's not in good shape or in good health, you know? Same thing with health insurance. You know, if somebody's homeless, they get state aid and everything's paid for, including a broken fingernail. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. But I'm just saying, but everybody else, I mean, it's what, $700 a family. And then the minute one of them has diabetes, it goes all the way up. And I'd always shake my head and just wonder, what am I going to be able to do to help this family to get back on track nutritionally and medically, you know, as far as, I'm not a doctor, but, you know, you tell people to eat less, you tell people, well, try to bring your weight down, but there's no method to it, you know, okay, just a blanket statement. If you were 20 pounds lighter, your policy would be so much less a month, but there's no teaching to it. This is very educational, makes people think of what they put in their mouth, and also their rates come down, which is what I want. I want them to have the lowest rates and save the most money at Van Camp Insurance. That's my company. Yep.
Yeah. So now, why did you? I mean, I forget. I don't think it's been too long. Maybe 3 weeks, less than a month. You've been taking it. How's it gone for you so far? What have? I'm interested to hear your thoughts.
Well, I would like to lose. I could tell everybody. I would like to lose 20 to 30 pounds more than where I am right now. My father had heart disease. My mother has diabetes. So I want those two curses off of me that came through the genetic line, you know? And I could do that by losing weight. And this really does take your appetite away. Sipping on, I'd always wonder about Lisa, because I'm like, man, she's like this little baby bottle she's running around with, and she can't take it out of her hands, and she's sipping this and sipping it, just sipping away, you know. And look at the 50 pounds. Yes, there you go. And look at the whatever 50 odd pounds that she's lost. I mean, I'm so proud of her. And that gave me the testimonials is what will bring people in more than anything, more than just the theology of the concept, because the minute they see and say, "Oh my God, girl, what did you do?" That's what's going to happen. Because even in my dog business, Van Camp House of Rottweilers, I see people from all over the country come into my living room, and what they do is they grab a little puppy, and they might be overweight. They might have diabetes, and they complain about their health, and they say, I wonder who's going to live longer, this little puppy or me. And I just listen to them. What can I say, you know? But now I could tell them, well, I lost so much weight because I'm on this program, and I'll send you a link and help them on their health as well, because it is painful to people that pay good money for a Rottweiler, and they have no idea how long they're going to be alive. You know what I mean? And some have even called me after 2 or 3 years and said, I want to bring my puppy back because my husband had a heart attack, and I've got diabetes and I'm bedridden and I can't take care of this puppy anymore. And they love their puppy. And if I could only help them on their health issues, and they listen to me, that's the whole point. They listen, you know, because I've already got a captive audience. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Well, I'm excited. You've got influence. A lot of people, they trust and respect you, and
Thank
you're going to help a lot of people. So thank you so much. I can't wait to have you on again. We'll be seeing you in a couple weeks at the convention in Chippewa. So I'm excited to have you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Thank you, Lisa.
Well,
thank you.
You bet. Well, we've got one more. It's a 1-2 punch.
Okay.
and it's
Can
a
I say one
fiber.
more thing? Can I say
Sure.
one more thing? I forgot.
Yeah.
I'm also a pastor at Miami Village Church. I sorry, I forgot to say I'm a pastor at Miami Village Church, and we see all kinds of health problems come through the door, come up to the altar for healing. And of course, we know that God is a healer of disease, but they go back to the bad vitamin, no vitamins and bad nutrition and Kool-Aid and hot dogs and this and that. And now I have something that I could tell them with nutrition counseling as well as just only praying for them and sending them back to their old habits. I had to bring
That's
that
right.
up. Yes.
Yeah, and we gotta. It's no different than success in business, success in our health. We have to do our part and meet halfway. So
Yes.
absolutely, couldn't agree more. Thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. So fiber and fasting protocol, Scott. Why is this so effective? I mean, intermittent fasting used to scare me because I'm a foodie and I love to eat. And if food was a sport, I probably could have placed a gold medal in the Olympics because I would eat and eat. I could keep up with anybody, and then 2 hours later, I was looking for more food. But but I also got put on a synthetic GLP-1 back when I had in the COVID times for Trulicity, and then it caused me to get pancreatitis. And they're like, you need to get
Oh,
off of that peptide right
mm,
away. And I'm like, you just put me on it, Well, it's you got pancreatitis. So Scott, walk us through. I mean, our bodies are designed perfect. Our food is designed perfect. Men and women have been screwing it up since the beginning of time. Why is this so effective, especially when you pair it with the balance, the fiber?
Yeah. So, do you want me to cover fasting? Would you like me to cover the Sunamate a little bit and how it pairs up? Is that what you're asking, John? You kind
Yeah,
of cut
yeah,
out.
please. Sure.
Okay. So let's just talk about the Sunamate just a little bit and how we use it. So we use this during our times. John talked a little bit about fasting, and I'm sure we're going to show something about that here in a minute. But we use this in a way to help us basically start to support us that where it helps us feel full. Unamate is an ultra concentrated extract of a yerba mate or yerba mate plant out of South America, and it can
These are the
contain some
protective
compounds.
gaiters I use outdoors. They protect my
It contains yeah. It contains compounds like chlorogenic acid and theobromine. It does have some caffeine in it, but very little in what we call mate saffons, right? But the whole point of that is this helps us, it targets the metabolism and appetite through these plant-based compounds to help us basically deal with the signaling, the food signaling that we have. That's one of the things it does. So it straightens up and helps get rid of that food noise that happens when we're starting to want to crave our snacks in the mid morning. It does that. But then the caffeine and the theobromine, and theobromine is basically kind of look at it, you see it in cacao, which is chocolate, right? And that helps us give us the energy. So we're not talking about an energy drink here, but we are talking about a product that helps us keep our energy up, as well as the chlorogenic acid, which is a polyphenol, and it helps us basically regulation of our blood sugar and then block that food signaling. Okay. And so it also helps the body naturally produce 67% more GLP-1. And we've heard a lot about the pokes you get right today to hear about, you take a GLP-1 to help us lose our weight. Now, this is not a GLP-1. So I want to be real clear. This is not what that is, but what God made our bodies in such a way that we can produce our own natural GLP-1.
yeah.
And so as our gut starts to heal with the balance, right, in relationship with this unamate, we start, and this is basically the GLP-1 is produced in the gut and allows us to start producing more GLP-1 and then helps us with our weight loss. So we don't really target this and say, hey, this is a weight loss product. What we target this is we start to heal our body. And what a cool side effect is that we start to lose weight and burn fat. Okay. And so the other thing is it helps us, helps support our feeling of well-being because of theobromine and the chlorogenic acid. And it helps us stay in that that fasting period, because the fasting is so important here. Earlier when I talked about fasting, we need time to rest. Our bodies will not get into fat burn mode for about 12 hours. So if we continue to eat 6 to 8 small meals a day, like we were taught, and we're in that first slide or second slide that John showed, where we're in the constant blood sugar up, down, down, up and down, right? And our insulin stays high, right? And never gets down to where it needs to. We will never get into a fasting mode. So our bodies are made, when insulin's high, we stay in storage mode. So we never get into burn mode. And so if we don't fast for at least 12 hours, our body is constantly is still staying in storage mode. So that's why fasting is so important. So if we break our fast by even picking up some almonds, eat about 50 calories or so or less around there, that can even break that'll break our fast. And so we go right back into fat burn mode. So kind of think of it this way. The first 4 to 6 hours, we're getting rid of the sugar in our blood. And then the next several hours, we're getting rid of the glycogen on our liver and burning out that, which is just basically stored sugar, which is in terms of in that. So we're using that for the first 12 hours. And then after 12 to 16, depending on how metabolically healthy are, we start to burn that off. So that's why fasting is so important. But that's really hard to do without these two products. And that's why these products are so awesome, because the fiber, which we talked about earlier, helps us feel full and stay there, and it starts to get us where it starts to heal us. This Unamate helps us basically deal with that signaling so that we don't feel like we need to eat anymore, right? It has benefits of how of our health, but it helps us really stay and say, hey, I don't need to eat this, because we have enough on board. All of us do, or most of us do, have enough on board so we can eat those love handles for breakfast, right? And eat that stored fat up, right? And so that's what's really awesome about this product is because I personally could not fast. I just couldn't do it. My body was in such a shape that I couldn't do it. And for me to be able to teach gut and metabolic health and teach people to intermittent fast, this tool, Unamate, has really helped me get to the point where fasting is so much easier.
Yeah. Yeah. The thoughts of it scared me. I mean, and I've done now extended fast up to 3 days, and it really is not a big deal. So, and the health benefits of fasting are so unbelievable. So folks, if you're on this call, get with the person that invited you on this call. They can get you more information. They can save you about $80 a month on the product. It's $159. But what for me, Rexall Pharmacy, I mean, this company's been around since 1903. There's actually 6 patents now on this, because there's a decaf version, a couple of them actually. There's way over 25 clinical studies. Some of the big medical institutions listed along the left: Cleveland Clinic, Stanford. I mean, those folks are just a touch smarter than I am. It's safe. It's all natural. It's plants. It's cost neutral. I'll explain that in a minute. It's actually in over 65 countries. When I got started 3.5 years ago, that number was 30 countries. Now it's over 65 countries, and it's worldwide. The two products got talked through. So great is how we explained it. It's really, like you said, the fiber and the fasting, and how we get this to be cost neutral is we skip breakfast. So let's just start at dinner. We eat our big dinner, and we're finished with supper, and then we start to break our fast, or we start fasting. And the nice thing is, in that 12 to 16 hours that Scott talked about, is, and we like to push it to 16 hours, we're sleeping through a good portion of that. Right. And another big, I did a video on this morning. Make sure you're trying to be done eating 3 to 4 hours before you go to bed. It's very healthy to be able to do that. So after dinner, we stop eating. About midnight, our blood sugar starts to reset. 6 to 8 in the morning, your digestive system has hopefully burned through all the glucose that we've ate the previous day, and now it can switch over to burning body fat. So along the bottom where it says breakfast, we have a choice to eat or not to eat. If we eat, we kick ourselves right back. We kick ourselves right back into burning glucose and storing the food we eat as body fat. But if we crack a Unimate, now I'm drinking one right now. I don't have much left in my bottle. And I start to sip on that. And what the product that Scott talked about, it blocks the food noise. A lot of days it'll be 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I'm like, I haven't ate. And the key is if you're not hungry, don't eat. Too many of us eat 2 o'clock, and I was bad for that. So we push that, and it's not like we're not getting calories. We're just eating those love handles. I was eating my love handles, my 3 chins I had in my big rear end. I was eating that for breakfast and getting those calories that way. But then at noon, we break our fast. Now, there's food order matters. We recommend break it with fiber first. Now, I take a balance at lunch. Standard protocol is to not, but have a good salad. Have a lot of diversity. Cauliflower, broccoli, green beans, cabbage, spinach, asparagus. Have some really good diverse fiber. Eat that first. Then have your protein and healthy fat. Cook your steak, cook your fish, cook your chicken in butter. Cook it in a healthy fat. And then if you're going to have a carbohydrate, have it at the end of your meal. It'll keep your blood sugar from spiking a lot less. And then in the afternoon, we mix another Unimate. This one here is a raspberry blend. Quite often I drink a lemon, probably more so than not. And I don't eat until dinner. And then at dinner, though, I have a really good meal. Now, tonight, I was really pressed for time. So I made a big chicken salad sandwich on a croissant. I don't normally have that, but my wife brought some home tonight. I'm like, I'm having that. Actually, I had 2 of them because I was really hungry because I didn't eat a whole lot of lunch today. And I actually took 2 balance because I know in that study that Scott talked about, 2 balance actually keep my blood sugar from spiking a whole lot less. So, and then we eat our supper and then we start our fast again. And it's very simple. It's just as easy as that. Get with the person that brought you. They can get you about a $75 to $80 discount. And there is a 90-day money-back guarantee if you track your results using the app. It doesn't work sitting on the counter. It works better getting it in us. And also, too, I recommend, it's not, I've heard people say it's food freedom. A lot of people don't change a whole lot about their diet. The ones that do, and they go switch back to eating healthy, whole foods, they have a whole lot more results faster. So, Scott, anything you'd like to close it with, and we'll get off here. I got another call at 8. But what would you say to that skeptical person? Because if I recall, when Alan reached out to you, you actually did a study on your wife before you actually took it.
Yeah, I'm kind of weird, though, because my background is engineering, so I had to dig into the patents, right? So I'm probably not the typical person out there. I was pretty skeptical. So I had to really dig into it. But with my practice of gut and metabolic health, I wanted to make certain it was safe for folks. So that's why I did it. And not only for my wife, we didn't just test it on my wife before I for clarity, in case she hears this tonight, but for others, but it's a safe product, right? And it's a tool, right? Paired with intermittent fasting. This is what's so unique in the products itself, how they're paired together in a healthy way that just flat out works, and the science backs it up, right? And folks, tonight, one of the things is that I've had so many clients worry about saying, "Oh, you're going to calorie deficit me. We are not talking about when we talk about intermittent fasting. We're talking about when we shift when we eat. Okay, the drop in calories will come naturally. So eat until you're full. Don't eat and don't overeat, but eat until you're full at your lunch and your dinner time, and eat healthy, right? And you'll find that it is so easy to do this fasting. I couldn't do it before. I just couldn't do it. And I can. And these are great tools. And just one other thing, John, I know you got to go, but this is so easy. These little packets, we take these everywhere we go. We go into a restaurant. We get a glass of water with no ice, right? Mix up that balance. Take it. I think we have these in our car. We have them there, instead of people having change in their car. We have these in our car, right? They're floating around. And my wife has a person, and it's just so easy. And with the 90-day money back guarantee, there's no risk. And you want to give it a 90, at least a 90-day try. It didn't take us. We didn't get here in 2 or 3 months. A lot of times with our metabolic health issues, right? It took years. So
Oh,
it
yeah.
won't happen overnight, but doggone, I mean, we've seen a lot of results, and where you start to feel better in weeks everybody's different, but at 90 days, people start to feeling a lot better, and we see a lot of results. I lost 45 pounds in 16 weeks. And so folks, give it a try. I mean, there's no risk. And not only that, we save money using this product.
Yeah, it's incredible. The results, the testimonies. Folks, go get your blood work. When you get ready to get started on this, go get your blood work. Blood work doesn't lie, and prove it to yourself with the results. Your doctor will more than likely say, "What in the world are you doing?" Because blood work doesn't change that fast. So we're gonna call it a night. I gotta jump on another call. This will be posted to my Facebook page. So if you want to share it to your page, friend me, and then go on. You can find the live, and then there's a little arrow. You can share it to your page. Liz, I got your message. I can work with you on that. I do have a call at 8, but we can touch base tomorrow, and I can walk you through. You can still stream this Restream onto your page. So everybody have a good night. Scott, Liz, Terry, Lisa, thank you so much. Tomorrow night, we've got 3 straight hours of Facebook Live. Scott, I think you're kicking one off at 7. And then we have, you're joining me on the doctor's panel at 8. That call is going to be incredible. Folks, you are going to want to tag everybody. What's that?
I think the doctor's
that one's
panel's
at
at
8. The first flyer that we did had the wrong time on it, and I think we originally were going to go at 9. So it's at 8 o'clock, and then I'm on with Paul Wengard at 9. So 3 straight hours, lives, all kinds of testimonies, and let's get you healthy. So folks, we'll see you tomorrow. Have a good night. Liz, let's talk tomorrow, and we'll show you how to share it. So thank you.